G'day and welcome back to the channel, Ginger Ninja's Movie Reviews. I am the Ginger Ninja and these are my Trashy Tuesday movie reviews. Yes, I'm back and I'm doing something even trashier than usual. It's been a little while, hasn't it? So yeah, moved into the new place, all settled in and got the new digs all set up and ready to go. So bear with me as I adjust the lighting here and there and try a few different things as a new setup. It will take a little bit to get used to, but hey, it is what it is. And what we're here for is trashy films. Now, if you're new to my channel, you may be wondering, why am I talking about trashy films? Well, trashy doesn't always mean bad. 9 times out of 10 it is. But there are some real gems out there. They've got a certain quality about them. And this is certainly one of them. Today we are looking at Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama 2 from 2022. Now this is a sequel, obviously, to one that came out in I think it was the late 80s and had a stellar cast of screamqueens, including linneaquigley, michellebauer, brinkestevens, a whole cast of just young, fun actresses. And years later, here we are with the sequel. So yeah, look, before we dive into the film itself, I do want to say a big thank you to all my new and existing subscribers. Also, I did take some time off to move and get settled. So thank you very much for sticking with me while I did that. And hey, let's get into the movie. Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama 2. This one was actually directed by brinkestevens, one of the stars of the original film. And the film stars Jesse Gill, Audrey Neal, Hannah Tullett, Glory Rodriguez, kellimaroney, michellebauer, and of course, brinkestevens is back. So, not only is brinkestevens back, but as the plot says, the babes are back. And so is everyone's favorite wish-grantin, murder-lovin, mischievous gremlin, the imp. The Pie sorority house has seen better days, but the girls are intent on gaining some new recruits, with housemother Auntie Snake as their guide. The naughty hijinks and hilarity begin. Meanwhile, though, the Bowl-O-Rama bowling area has had a break-in and a breakout. With the escape of the magical murderous imp, it's a fight for survival, with only one mysterious girl holding the answers to the riddle of the imp's wish. Yeah, look, kind of, not quite. I mean, yeah, I guess that's kind of the plot. Look, honestly, the film doesn't have a plot, and I actually don't think this will be a really long review. The movie itself clocks in at just over an hour, so it's not long. And like I said, this is a long-awaited sequel to the 1980, I'm going to say 88, cult classic film. And this one being directed by brinkestevens, who was one of the stars of the original film. It promises to be a nostalgic trip filled with sorority shenanigans, a murderous, mischievous imp, and of course a bowling alley. But does it strike, or does it end up in the gutter? Let's find out.
Trashy Tuesdays, never gonna plan. 80s horror in a blood of tan. VHS tapes come in night fan. Stop by 9 years, leads through the night. Alien wars in a neon fight. Android streaming, caught in freaking light. Trashy Tuesdays, it's a pure delight.
So kicking it off with the cast, and look, the sorority girls and the supporting characters are reduced to pretty much stereotypes without much depth or development. And the performances do range from entertaining to painfully wooden. Some of the actors really do embrace the camp, which is probably the saving grace, but others seem out of place or somewhat disinterested. kellimaroney, I feel, steals the show as Auntie Snake, but it was a pleasure to see michellebauer and brinkestevens return on screen. It was just a lot of fun seeing those two reprise their roles. The younger generation of actors, they seem to be having a little bit less fun with it. Not that they're doing a bad job, but Kelly, Michelle, and Brink all seem to be having a blast. And so when you see them side by side, it is a huge contrast. And then, of course, we have the Imp, who's voiced by Derek Jemiah Reed, and he delivers some of the more entertaining moments with his cheeky antics, but he's not as fun as the OG Imp. Moving quickly on to the directing and the writing, and look, as a sequel to the 1988 cult classic, the plot feels more like a forced rehash than a meaningful continuation. It does have certain elements which tie it back to the original, don't get me wrong, but the film attempts to replicate the original's mix of horror and comedy, but it struggles to find a very fresh angle. And it, as I mentioned, the film just goes for just over an hour. Pacing-wise, it moves rather briskly, but certain scenes feel rushed and it leaves little room for any character development. And while I wouldn't say other scenes seem to drag, there are certain scenes which seem like filler and are just there trying to pad it out. The one scene that seems to linger more than others, and no complaints here, was the extended shower scene. And this was done in as a homage to the original. So it makes sense that given this wasn't done as a continuation, but also almost a remake. Some of the scenes just felt like that. Brinkestevens' directorial debut is a good effort, and I would like to really see more from her in the future. As with her horror background, I actually feel she can bring a lot to the genre. Even in a lower budget capacity, I think she can bring a lot to this. She really captures the spirit of 1980s VHS exploitation cinema. The film's aesthetic, from its 80s style aerobics opening all the way through, just has that pure fun vibe. Now moving on to the effects. And look, this isn't a big budget film, and while expected in a B movie, the film's reliance on cheap practical effects and questionable CGI hamper the horror elements to the film. And it does make the Imp's pranks more laughable than frightening. Like, there's one scene where a guy gets turned into a candy wrapper, and it wasn't great. And look, while the film's low budget charm is part of its appeal, some effects and set pieces might come across as very amateurish, even for B movie aficionados like myself. And it just stood out. The cinematography lacks the grainy warmth of the original. If you look back at those VHS films, those older films, they've got a certain quality about them, whereas these handheld digital films, they lack that warmth, that graininess, which made them, And look, because of that, because it loses that, it might be a drawback for some purists wanting that old school VHS feel. But maybe you want 1080p definition. Who knows? So now on to rewatchability. And look, this one was free to watch on Tubi, so definitely no complaints there. And I was really looking forward to this. The original was such a fun film. It's goofy, sleazy, and it gives off a really enjoyable feel to it. This one, however, not so much. It does have a touch of nostalgia, but it's just not one that I will rush out to rewatch anytime soon. Maybe in a few years as a follow-up. If I go back and watch the original and follow it up with this, like I said, it is only an hour, so it's not a lot of time, and it is one you can just turn your brain off and watch. So, final verdict. Now, look, while the film does offer nostalgic elements, it does struggle with a very weak plot and very evident budgetary constraints. Fans of the original may appreciate the nods to the 1980s B movies and, of course, the original film in this one, but others might find it lacking in substance and execution. It's walking a very fine line between, as being a sequel or just a cheap knockoff. But it is what it is. And look, overall for a score, this one walks the line with a 5 out of 10. There you have it. That is my review of Sorority Babes and the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama 2. Will there be a third one? Who knows? I wouldn't be against it, but yeah, they definitely do leave it open for a third one with that ending. So yeah. Anyway, like I said, it is free on Tubi. At least it is in Australia. Maybe, United States, UK, who knows? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But definitely check it out. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you look at it, especially if you're a fan of the original. If you have seen it, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, because I am really keen to hear your thoughts on these films. Also, if you've got any other trashy films you think I should review, leave a comment down below and let me know. But before I dribble on too much, thank you very much for watching. And if you haven't already, please do hit that thumbs up button. It'd be much appreciated. And of course, if you've made it through this far, you might as well hit that subscribe button and make sure you tick that notification bell, so that way you're notified every time I do release a new review. Like I said, it's good to be back and doing this, and I've got some doozies lined up. Of course, we've got Franchise Friday coming up, and we're kicking that off with Universal Soldier. What a way to start the month, eh? Or start the reviews up again. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.
Bushy, he's a ninja on the prowl, smacking on pretenders with a